Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back for another lecture video. Today we will be continuing with chapter number 6 from Geosystems by Robert Christopherson. The topic which we are covering in this video is driving forces within the atmosphere. What are the different forces due to which the movement of wind takes place? So there are four forces due to which the wind moves. Firstly, it's gravitational force. Second, it's pressure gradient force. Third is Coriolis force, and the fourth one is friction force. Now, since everybody knows what gravitational force is, it's basically the force which is applied by the surface of Earth on everything present within the field, within its gravitational field. So without gravitational force, there would be no atmosphere. It's because of that force all the particles of the atmosphere are stuck to the surface of Earth. If there would be no gravity, there would be no atmosphere. Secondly, we have pressure gradient force, which means the differences in pressure in two different areas. Gradient means difference. So wind always moves from an area which has higher pressure to an area which has lower pressure. And the pressure of atmospheric depends upon the density of air. If the air is dense, more dense, then it will have higher pressure, and if the air is lesser dense, then it will have lower pressure. Now the third force which plays its part in driving the wind is the Coriolis force. Coriolis force is basically the force which deflects the wind direction due to the rotation of Earth. Earth is continuously in a rotatory motion. So because of that rotation of Earth, if the wind is moving from north to south direction in particular, what will happen to the wind? It will deflect. The fourth force which affects the movement of wind is the friction force. Friction force is the drag which occurs between the moving wind and the surface of Earth. If the surface of Earth is a plane surface, then wind will move without any obstacle in a faster speed, like it moves in deserts. Then if the surface of Earth is rough and irregular, like in an urban area full of buildings, then wind will move in a slower speed. So this is the role of friction force in the movement of wind. So these were the basic definitions of the four forces which drives the wind and which affects the atmospheric movement of wind. Now we will discuss each force in detail. So let's start with pressure gradient force. Since the gravitational force does not need much explanation, it only holds the wind to the wind or the atmosphere to the surface of Earth. So let's start with the pressure gradient force. As we have discussed that if the atmosphere is dense and thick, then it will have higher pressure, and if the atmosphere is thin and lesser dense, then it will have lower pressure. But what makes an atmosphere dense and what makes an atmosphere thin? So first phenomenon is the temperature. If we look at the primary scale, like we have discussed three scales of wind movement: the primary scale, the primary circulation, the secondary circulation, and the tertiary circulation. So according to primary circulation, if we look at the Earth as a whole, so we see the poles are cold because the insolation does not go directly to at the poles. So what happens? The wind over there is cold, and because of the lesser temperature, the air is dense. So if the air is dense, it will have greater pressure. Dense means more particles, and more particle means it will have greater pressure. So comparatively, if we look at the equator compared to the poles, equator is warm because it receives direct insolation and insolation in the highest amount. So equator is warm most of the year, and because of its warm temperature, it is lesser dense. So if we compare the pole with the equator, suppose this H high pressure area is the pole, while this low pressure area is the equator. So according to pressure gradient, what will happen? The wind will move from high pressure area to low pressure area, as shown by these arrows, the blue colored arrows. Now over here in this part of the screen, you see there are three green lines which are quite farther from each other compared to the right side of the screen, where you have the green parts which are closer to each other. So the areas where these green lines are far away from each other will have light winds. The wind direction will be lighter, while the areas where these green lines are closer to each other, the winds will be stronger. Basically, these green lines are drawn to show pressure differences, and pressure differences are pressure gradients. So here it's written gradual pressure gradient, while here it's written steep pressure gradient. When we have gradual pressure gradient, then movement will be slower, that is light wind. And when we have steep pressure gradient, we will have stronger wind, just like a steep slope and a gentle slope. From a gentle slope, you will move slowly downwards. If you are going down a gentle slope, your speed will be slower. Compared to a very steep slope, you would be rolling down in a faster speed. So that rule of nature works everywhere, even for the pressure. So this is how pressure is affecting the wind movement. The light winds and the strong winds on the basis of the pressure gradients. These green lines are the pressure lines, and you see the pressure values are written here: 1028 millibars, then 1024 millibars. So these pressure lines are drawn to show pressure differences, and the lines which show similar pressure are called as isobars. So these winds are moving across isobars. That was the illustration which shows horizontal movement of wind on the basis of pressure gradient. Now if we look at the surface of earth and the differences in pressure as shown in this particular figure, so here we see L written. So L is for lower air pressure, lower gradient, and H is for higher air pressure. And we see that this L and the surrounding red arrows are in circular pattern, and this H and the surrounding red arrows are also in circular pattern. So what this shows, so this circular pattern is because of the Coriolis force, as we have discussed earlier, that Coriolis force tend to deflect the wind which moves across the surface of earth. Now look carefully at the point L. The arrows are moving towards the center, while at H the arrows are moving uh, outwards. Why is that so? It's because air descends in a high pressure area. Descends mean air sinks or it moves downwards. Why it is moving downwards? Because it is dense and it is heavy, and heavy things tend to move downwards because of gravity. So when air is descending, what will happen? It will diverge. It will move outwards. That's why the arrows from higher pressure areas are moving outwards in all direction, while in the low pressure area the air will rise. The air is rising because it is less in density, and because of the lesser density it rises. And while it rises, there is a vacuum generating in the low pressure area. Not exactly a vacuum, but it leaves empty spaces for the surrounding winds to come there and occupy those empty spaces. So at L, the arrows are converging in the center. We can relate this low pressure situation with the recent sandstorm we had in Karachi, where wind was moving extremely fast. And why the wind was moving very fast? Because in Karachi, due to higher temperature, the air ascended, the air moved upward, and we have lower pressure. And because of the lower pressure, the wind from surrounding areas just rushed in to fill up the gaps. Now on this map you can see the green lines, which are isobars, the lines which connect places of similar pressure. These isobars are quite close to each other, that's why it's written steep pressure gradient. While on this side towards the ocean, we see the lines are quite far from each other, and that's why it's written gradual pressure gradient. Now the second force, the Coriolis force, which is the deflecting force due to the rotation of Earth. And that deflecting force is maximum when something is covering a larger distance from the poles to the equator or from the equator to the poles. Then this Coriolis force will have greater impact. Let's have a look at an illustration how Coriolis force is explained. So let's have a look at this video. These arrows which are moving towards east, these are basically the rotating speed of our Earth. Greater arrow shows greater speed, while the smaller arrows show the smaller speed. So that means that at equator, this is the equator, at equator Coriolis force is maximum, and this is somewhere near the mid latitudes or above that the Coriolis force is lesser. And when we are at the poles, the Coriolis force is minimum, because the poles are not moving and the rest of the Earth is moving because of rotation. Now look at this particular cloud. This cloud will try to move towards the north, but what will happen when it is moving towards the north due to Coriolis force? It's moving towards the north, but it is deflected. Why it is being deflected? Because of the Coriolis force. Now there is another case in which this cloud is trying to move towards the equator. Now let's see what happens to this cloud. It's trying to move towards the equator, and again it is deflected. Now let's see how the wind is deflecting in both the hemispheres. This is the equator, and let's see what happens when the wind deflects. So here we see in the southern hemisphere, when the wind is moving from southern hemisphere to the equator, it is deflected in the other direction, while if it's moving from northern hemisphere to the equator, it is deflected in other direction. Now let's see deflection from equator to the poles. Now let's see the combined effect of pressure gradient and the Coriolis force in the northern hemisphere. So this is a low pressure cell and the wind is converging. So when the wind is converging or moving inside, and due to the Coriolis force, the wind is deflecting towards the east, and because of that deflection, the wind moves in a circular direction, and that makes up a cyclone. Now, if you look at the cyclone of northern hemisphere, check out its direction. It's moving in counterclockwise direction, anti-clockwise direction. This is the pattern in the northern hemisphere. Now let's have a look at the pattern of southern hemisphere. The wind is converging, and because of the deflection due to Coriolis force, what happens? The wind is converging, and it is moving in a clockwise direction. So the cyclones in the southern hemisphere move in clockwise direction. Cyclones of northern hemisphere rotate in anti-clockwise direction, and cyclones in southern hemisphere rotate in a clockwise direction, and this difference is due to the Coriolis force and because of the direction of deflection moving from equator to the poles and pole to the equator. Figure 6.7 summarizes the forces, the four types of driving forces together. First, they show how pressure gradient force works, descending and diverging in high pressure, ascending and converging in low pressure. Now, this illustration shows the combined effect of pressure gradient force and the Coriolis force. So here we see in the northern hemisphere, the cyclones are moving in anti-clockwise direction. So if the cyclones are moving in anti-clockwise direction, of course the high pressure cells, which are called as anticyclones, they will move in clockwise direction. Because if both cyclone and anticyclone will move in the similar direction, there will be no change of wind. That's why we see difference in their directions. The cyclone, which is also called as a low pressure cell, the anticyclone, which is also called as a high pressure cell. Cyclones of northern hemisphere moves in anti-clockwise direction, while anticyclones of northern hemisphere move in a clockwise direction. So everything in both the hemispheres are opposite to each other, whether it's the season or the direction. So here we see the cyclones of southern hemisphere. The cyclones are clockwise and the anticyclones are anti-clockwise. So this is the combined effect of pressure gradient and Coriolis force. Now let's have a look at the combined effect of pressure gradient, Coriolis force and the friction force. So what is the difference? Basically, due to friction, the arrows have moved even closer. And when the arrows are closer, that means there is stronger force, stronger wind movement. So we have seen the effect of three forces together. The fourth is gravity, which is always there. So in every kind of wind, we have the three types of forces acting together. One force does not exist at any place. It's a combination of all the four forces which makes up the atmospheric wind movement and cyclones and anticyclones. Now there is a special terminology which is the geostrophic wind. So these are the winds which move parallel to the isobars. Generally the wind move across the isobars, but geostrophic winds are the winds which move parallel to the isobar, as you can see in this illustration here. Normally wind moves across the isobar like this, but the geostrophic wind, these type of winds move parallel to the isobars, and these types of winds are found in the upper part of troposphere, not near the surface but far away from the surface, near the end of the troposphere. In the end, let's have a look at the isobar map for the world in the month of January. So we see in January we have winters in the northern hemisphere. That's why we have higher pressure in the northern hemisphere and lower pressure in the southern hemisphere, which has summer seasons. While if we look at the isobar map for the month of July, we see lower pressures in the northern hemisphere. Particularly you can see low pressure cell over here and the low pressure cells in the continental areas where we have land, and we have higher pressure in the sea, and because of that higher pressure we have cyclones which move towards the land, particularly in this part of USA, North America, and we have cyclones in this part of Indian Ocean. These are generalized isobaric maps. The pressure tend to change due to different other factors, and particularly due to the climate change. We have a varying pattern of air pressure, and we have more cyclone events around the globe. So that's all for this video. Inshallah, in the next video we will discuss atmospheric patterns of motion. Till then, Allah Hafiz, and thank you for watching.